Alright, so welcome back, guys. So this time I wanted to go over a deck that I'm actually quite passionate about because I actually really enjoy Gladiator Beasts. I was using them back before, well, are they even considered cool? I don't even know. But I was using them back before they were even considered cool. Back before the support of like Tamer Editor. I think he was the first new support that came out with Noxious and, or maybe Augustus, I guess, technically, because that was out in Tag Force Special. But then came another round of support, and you had stuff like Vespasius and Domitianus. I don't know, I just call him the 3500 beater. But I forget when Atrix and Sugatari even came out, if it was around the time. I think it was around the time of Noxious, right? Not Vespasius, I think he came out later. And then Gladiator Rejection, I think, also came out during Vespasius' time. And Test Panther, because those were the Link guys, and this guy as well. So this is pretty well what I'm running now. Back in like 2013, when there wasn't all this support, the Glad Beasts were a little too slow. So I did not even run Test Tiger back then. I ran a combination of like Fire Fist with stuff like Laquari and Darius mainly. And of course you had to run the best Shiari because it was just so good. And maybe like one a quest to pull back your War Chariots. But you were going into mainly Exceed monsters. Now with so much support for Glad Beasts, which it's still not going to be a top tier deck, but it's fun. At least to me, I enjoy dueling with Glad Beasts. It's not going to beat anything that's out there that's like current meta, but you'd be surprised in terms of like what you can pull off, especially if you have a good hand and you can summon the 2 Tamer Editors. So whenever you're running with a deck, you always need to have an objective in mind, right? What is my end game? What am I trying to get out? Ultimately, what you're trying to get out is as many Tamer Editors as possible, so that way you can bring out your Domitianus and your Heraclinoses. You typically want to go for Domitianus first, but it depends on what they're running. If they're running majority spell trap heavy deck, then maybe Heraclinos is the guy to go for first. But typically, these decks nowadays run lots of monster effects, so this is the guy who you want. Also, this guy can redirect attacks. So if he's going to attack this guy, because say he has bad at examples, but let's say it's a giant castle. So then you can redirect the attack right back at this guy, so the giant castle is going to get destroyed, obviously. Or no, Gigantic Castle. I don't even know what the hell a giant castle is. But yeah, so this is what I'm working with right now. So I like to run 2 Augustuses. Not 1, not 3, 2. And that's because if you run the 1 and it's already in your hand, it's harder to work with whenever you have the opportunity to special summon, like tagging out from your deck and then getting Augustus's effect. So that's the reason why I like to have 2. 3 is cloggy. You don't want to top deck Augustus, typically. You certainly never want to have 2 of them in your hand. That's like really bad news. Because sometimes I can reason with myself, okay, I will Augustus from the deck to special summon the Augustus from my hand, which then allows me another special summon of a Glad Beast from my hand. That I can sometimes work with. But he's really good because, well, for one, he's the target for like the 2 level 5 or higher Glad Beast monsters that you need to summon Tamer Editor. But also his ability to get you extra Glad Beast summons is extremely good. I really like him. And I almost never actually like attack with him, though. It's typically I'm just summoning him so that way I can go into my fusions. I run the 1 Vespasius because, well, first of all, you'll notice that I run Fusion Deployment, and I'll get into all the targets for that. But he's one of those targets, and again, he's another requirement, or he fits the requirement for Tamer Editor, a level 5 or higher Glad Beast monster. And he's pretty good with his attack boost whenever he is summoned by the effective Glad Beast monster. But typically, again, he's just for being able to summon your Tamer Editors. I go into a different combination of things, but you'll see in some of the example duels. I don't have too many with the Glad Beast because, I mean, they pretty well do the same thing over and over and over again, so it gets kind of monotonous after a while. But I guess that's a sign of a consistent deck, is if it's able to pull off the same set of moves that you want to get you your same end game every time. And then Noxious, I run him for a couple different reasons. For one, he's a level 5. Again, those people that you see right there, these are the ones that are typically going to bring out your Tamer Editors. You'll be able to summon 2 of them, especially with Geezers. So, you know, well, I pronounce them as Geezers. Maybe these guys Zaris, I don't know. They're all Latin to me. And if you're able to summon him, you know, and then you blow up some shit, and then you attack, and then at the end of the battle phase, you get to summon 2 monsters for free. Back in the day, it wasn't that great. Like, whoop-de-freaking-do, you summon some level 4s, except for Bestiari, and that was it. Now you can summon 2 level 5 or highers from your deck, including an Augustus, who then gets his effect to special summon another Glad Beast monster from your hand. Now, this guy is, like, seriously good. I really like him. But the other effect for Noxious is the ability to, when your opponent attacks directly, right? Yeah. So he can special summon himself, and then he can Foolish Burial a monster. Actually, I think period when he special summon, even if it's by his own effect. He can Foolish Burial a monster. So I typically go for the Bestiari, because then I can always, like Darius, into bring back the Bestiari and immediately go into Gizaris. But he can also, once per turn during that battle, not be destroyed by battle. So that'll help save you if you're really in a pinch, I suppose. But again, mainly he's just there because he's a level 5 target to be able to summon the Tamer Editor. And then I run the 3 Laquaris. He's also another target for Tensu. I really like that. And then, worst case scenario, back in the day, I used to summon Heraclinos using the typical, you take your Laquari plus 2 other Glad Beast monsters. I almost never do that anymore. But the fact that he is a fusion deployment target again. I'll show you how many fusion deployment targets we have later. But I really like him. Tensu works on him. Wonders of Nature works on him. So, same thing with Darius, except... Oh, and then also if he's, for some reason, special summoned, he gets an attack boost, bringing him up to 2100. That almost never happens anymore. Back in the day, yes, it was very good, but nowadays, who really cares? He's just used to attack and then be able to special summon extra shit, so that way you can go into your end game. Darius, he's very good. I only run 2 of him because there are so many other good Glad Beast monsters that I needed to make room for. But he is your Monster Reborn. Practically the Monster Reborn. I think he can target any Glad Beast monster in your graveyard. Typically, I'm going for the Bestiari because I like the Foolish Burial of the Bestiari with either Noxious's effect or Torx's effect. Well, whatever the hell this guy's name is. But so that way you can immediately go into a Gizaris. I like that. And remember, Gizaris is a level 6, so if this is like main phase 2 and you're summoning it, and you blow up up to 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field, and then you decide you want to actually contact Fuse for the Tamer Editor, this is a level 5 or higher target that you can use. And that's the reason why I only run 2 Dariuses. He's good, but notice that Darius and Laquari have very low defense, so try not to let them get Book of Mooned. And also, one of the drawbacks of Darius is that if he leaves the field, the monster that got special summoned... Oh, by the way, the monster that gets special summoned has its effect negated. So even if you bring back Bestiari, you're not blowing up a back row on your opponent's side of the field for free. But if he leaves the field, the monster that you Monster Reborned with him also leaves the field. So just make sure that if Darius is leaving the field, it's at the same time as whatever Glad Beast you just Monster Reborn. And then Quest, I run 2 of him, just in case if something happens to one of them. He is extremely good. It used to only be really 1 spell trap target that I would go for, and then obviously you can bring back a Glad Beast monster. But when he is special summoned by the effect of Glad Beast, then he can search out in your graveyard a Glad Beast card and bring it back to your hand. And I typically go after the Glad Beast War Chariot because it's such a powerful card. But now there are more targets since the expansion of the support. You can go after this Gladiator Beast Charge, which I almost never use, but it's a nice to have in the deck, especially in this particular build of the deck. But I will a lot of times go for Gladiator Beast Comeback. This is like, what is it, the Cyber Rev system? Or whatever that card is for the Cyber Dragon deck. I don't even remember anymore. Let me see. Rev? Cyber Rev? Oh, okay, it's one word. Yeah, the Cyber Rev system. You can special summon from your hand or from the grave a Gladiator Beast monster, so that's the reason why it's really good. A Quest, really nice. That's about the only reason why I use them. And then Bestiari, everyone. I mean, there was a reason why this guy got knocked down to 1 for so long. It's because he is so good to just be able to keep summoning him to blow up support, blow up back support. So I like to run only 2 because you don't really need 3. It's kind of cloggy. I don't know what I would want to give up. Yeah, mainly because of the Tensu, I have to run as many Beast Warriors as possible. Tensu is just so good to be able to get extra, like, extend your plays for as much as possible. But he is a Wonders of Nature target. Actually, anything that is the Wing Beast or Beast Warrior that's in here. So you've got 3. Well, I mean, I guess technically these 2 as well, but you're mainly just going for the ones that can be normal summoned easily. So your Laquaris, your Dariuses, your Quests, your Bestiaries, your Atrixes. Okay, just about everyone except for the Murmillo. That's a normal summon target. That's the reason why Wonders of Nature is so good. But that's Bestiary, and then the Atrix is basically a noxious but easy to normal summon. When it gets special summoned by the effect of Glad Beast, it can Foolish Burial. And then it also takes on that monster's level and name. So, I mean, you can Foolish Burial one of your level 5s, and then it can take on that level, and then you can go into your Tamer Editor that way. You can also make it a Bestiary or one of the fusion materials to bring out one of your fusions here. Typically, I'm doing the Bestiary so that way I can go into a Geezerus. But there is the situation in which you might want to actually Foolish Burial something like a Noxious, or something like a Vespasius or an Augustus, because then you can do your Gladiator Beast comeback. This guy counts as a level 6, and then you, like if you sent Augustus, so he becomes a level 8, and then you use Gladiator Beast comeback because Augustus is a Wing Beast, and this guy's a Beast Warrior, so it meets the condition for comeback, and then you can immediately, just like that, go into a Tamer Editor. So there are ways that it just depends on what cards you have in your hand, that you will want to choose what targets. So there is some intelligence that you need to have when playing this. It's not one of those like autoplay decks, right? Cyber Dragon is pretty well autoplay. This deck, I would say it definitely takes some thinking, some strategy. And then you've got your Sagittarius type of monster, the Centaur. He almost never sees the light of day because I threw him in there because, I mean, again, he's a Wonders of Nature target, and he can actually be useful at times, but he's a nice to have. You can obviously take him out if you wanted to drop this down to 40. And then Murmillo, just like Bestiary, you've got to run a Murmillo. You have to, because this guy is an easy pop of a face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field. Now, he's mandatory, so if your opponent doesn't have any monsters, you've got to pop him, or another monster on your side of the field. So just be careful, but he's really good. Only need one of them because, again, remember these guys can tag out. Test Tiger, you gotta. He's a free special summon whenever you have a Glad Beast monster on the field, so he can effectively act as a Glad Beast monster effect tagging. So if you summon Bestiary and you wanted to blow up a back row, you special summon Test Tiger, send back Bestiary to the deck, and then you can special summon the very Bestiary that you just sent back. He doesn't say that you have to special summon a Glad Beast monster other than the one you just sent back. It can be the same one. So then you bring out Bestiary, and Bestiary thinks it just got summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast monster, because that's Test Tiger's effect, and then you blow up a back row. And I run 3 of them because he's so good. I wish there was a way to search this guy, but there's not, but that's fine. Okay, and then Fusion Deployment. So the reason why I run 3 of this is because I'm mainly only Fusion summoning in this deck. Very rarely, I mean, I'd have to be backed up against the wall to have to summon my Test Panther, which I have before, especially goes really well with a Gladiator Rejection. That, I mean, I had been negated into oblivion. So I went for the Test Panther. Thankfully, I had a Gladiator Rejection. I still went into my Tamer Editor and my this guy, Big Papa. Actually, Heraclinos used to be Big Papa, but now this guy's Bigger Papa. But Fusion Deployment, here are all your targets. Augustus, all you have to do is reveal this Andabata. And then Vespasius, you just reveal Bigger Papa. And then Laquar, you just reveal Heraclinos. And then Bestiary, you just reveal Geezerus. And then that's, I believe, pretty well it. But the idea is you can bring out a level 7 or a level 5 or higher monster very easily with your Fusion Deployment. Or a Bestiary if you wanted to immediately go into your Geezerus as soon as possible. That's the reason why Fusion Deployment is very good. I really like it. Raigeki, just because, I don't know, to clear out the monsters that are in the way. Because you want to be able to attack with these guys. And if they got higher attack monsters, then it's going to be difficult for them to be able to attack themselves out. That's the one downside of this, is that they have to be able to attack first in order for them to get off their effects. But I had a spare Raigeki from Legend of the Blue Eyes from way back in the day when I first started dueling. So I figured I'd just throw it in here. 3 Gladiator Beast comeback. I mean, this entire deck is pretty damn cheap. But I like this card because it's practically a Monster Reborn. Like I showed you, it's the Rev system, so it can also be from the hand. But if you're smart, you can use this to easily make your Tamer Editor. But the other thing is, you can search for it with Gladiator Beast Quest. And it's also not once per turn. Oh, I mean, it also cannot be destroyed by battle, the monster that you're special summoning. But I don't really care about that. It's the fact that it's not once per turn. You can bring it back and then do it again, as long as a Glad Beast monster that you're special summoning is not of the same type of as one that you control. So that's the reason why I really like it. Glad Beast Proving Ground. Typically what I'm doing is I'm using this to search for one of my Beast Warriors because I have a Tensu on the field, or a Bestiari because I want to make the Geezerus. But remember, it can be a Wing Beast or a Beast Warrior if you're going to use Wonders of Nature. So yeah, the Gladiator Beast Proving Ground, you got to run 3 of them. It's so good. It's basically your, what is it, E-Emergency Call. And then your Tensu, yes, it does give a boost of 100 attack to, it's just, gain 100 attack for your Beast Warriors, but the main thing is the extra normal sum. That's why I really like, you don't even need to run Tenki in this deck because of Glad Beast Proving Ground. I really like Tensu. You can modify it however you want, but it's really good. Gladiator Rejection, this is like the unsung hero of this deck because your opponent cannot target Gladiator Beast monsters you control with card effects, except during the battle phase. But that's extremely good. For all those cards that, I mean, especially with all these new cards that are being errated, so you've got like Change of Heart and Brain Control that can target now. They modified the word so that way they say it targets. But your Glad Beast monsters can't be targeted with the card effects anymore, except for during the battle phase. So that's really good to be able to help you survive and get off effects before you even enter the battle phase. So that's the reason why I really like it. But then the main reason that I use it is when a Glad Beast monster is special summoned from your main deck, it doesn't even have to be as a result of a Glad Beast monster effect. If you fusion deployment from your deck, Gladiator Rejection goes off. So I fusion deployment Vespasius from my deck, Gladiator Rejection goes off. Then I can special summon one Glad Beast monster from my deck with a different type from the monsters you control in defense position. So I go for an Augustus. Take these two, immediately go into a Tamer Editor, and then bring out the Domitant. Just from Fusion Deployment and Gladiator Rejection alone, those 2 cards, I brought out a Tamer Editor and the bigger Papa. And then I haven't even used the other cards that are in my hand, so that way I can use some effects or whatever are necessary. That is extremely good. Gladiator Rejection is so good. Unfortunately, it's not searchable, again, because it's Gladiator, not Gladiator Beast. So it'd be the same way with Gladiator Proving Ground, which I wish it were searchable, but I understand. Wonders of Nature. This card is OCG only right now. I have not heard any word on when or even if this card is coming to TCG. But this card makes it not even fair to duel against dragons. Read its like second sentence. Oh no, I guess it's still part of the first sentence. The first sentence is just really long. But you can special summon level 4 or lower fairy, spellcaster, wing beast, or beast warrior monster. So this isn't limited to just like Glad Beast. This you could throw in, well, a fairy or spellcaster deck as well. Equip it with this card, then you can return all dragon monsters on the field to the hand. Where the fuck did this even come from? Is this like an Arc 5 card or something? Whose hands are those? I don't even know like where this came from, but it looks like some female hands. Honestly, I think it's Arc 5. Because if you... Wait, where is it? If you look... Son of a bitch. If you look at this, this might be like Sedana's hand from the Fusion world. This might be like... Oh, shit. Who's the green chick? Man, it's been so long since I've watched. But these might be the 4 chicks from the different dimensions that were the Yuzu lookalikes. I don't know. But I feel like this is the Synchro chick because she had green hair. Sedana had that bluish purplish hair maybe, but she always wore that red overcoat. Rudy, which one is Rudy? Who was the let me see, Fusion, Synchro, Xseed was Rudy. Well, who was the normal? Oh, maybe I guess it would have to be Yuzu then. Maybe that's Yuzu. I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it fits very well into here, and that's not the only thing. So you use it mainly to get an extra summon, so that way you can do some contacting and whatnot. If their opponent is unlucky enough to have dragons on the field as well, then fuck them, because it doesn't target or destroy. But then during the end phase, so after you've contact Fusion and Wonders of Nature goes to the grave, during the end phase, if this card is in your grave because it was sent there from the spell and trap zone while face up this turn, you can add 1 polymerization spell, 1 fusion spell, or 1 fusion parasite. Whoa, fusion parasite! This has gotta be... I almost feel like this has got to be a Arc 5 then. Related card. Right? Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So, 1 fusion spell card. So that's my fusion deployment that I can go after. So that's the reason why I run 3 of them. Is because it's so easy to use that many in a duel. I mean, typically only 2 that I'm using in a duel, but just in case if you top deck 2 of them, you can still use this to search. So that way you're getting a benefit at the end phase for hand supply. Because remember, Heraclinos can always discard shit to negate. So you want to be able to keep shit in your hand as much as possible, so hand advantage is still very important. And then Gladiator Beast charge, target face-up cards on the field up to the number of Glad Beast monsters you control with different names, destroy them. I usually have a lot of Glad Beast monsters on my side of the field. So you would be able to pop multiple things, which is good. And then again, it's searchable. You can always bring it back with a quest if you wanted. And then Glad Beast Warrior Chair at the obligatory 3 because it's a counter trap. It's so freaking good. And then it's searchable. You can bring it right back with a quest. Well, I mean, it is technically searchable, but you're not searching from the deck. You're searching from the grave. Yeah, Sam Knight used to be the guy back in the day that you would search from the deck. But he has to destroy a monster after he's already been special summoned by the effect of a Glad Beast in order to search. So he's not as good anymore. But yeah, you've got the bigger Papa. You can summon him the normal way, but typically I'm summoning through Tamer Editor. And he has the ability to once per turn, he's a walk-in effect veiler. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, it's a quick effect. You can negate the activation if you do destroy it. Then you can also choose attack targets that your opponent is going to attack, right? So I usually target him because he's the strongest guy I have. But yeah, I never use his ability to go back to the extra deck and special summon a monster from your deck. So one of the good things about the Glad Beasts is that they go back to the deck. So if they've activated one of the cards that are the worst, I encountered this a lot in Tag Force 3 back when I did my Let's Play. Macrocosmos usually fucks over fusion decks, right? Because they get banished instead of going to the grave when you fuse. But first of all, this is contact fusion. So that's good. So that limits the number of cards that you need to actually perform the fusions. Get rid of that spell card. And then also they go back to the deck, which is really nice. That's the reason why I really like the contact fusion of Glad Beast specifically, is because the materials go back to the deck. You've also got Heraclinos. So this guy's an old school card, very good. I think he was the first Glad Beast fusion monster to ever come out. Basically, he is, I guess you could think of him like a continuous solemn judgment that you would just discard, like a dark bribe. He's much closer to a dark bribe. You can multiple times a turn when a spell or trap card is activated. Quick effect. You can discard one card and negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. So that's extremely good. Now, he's a little bit different in that when he attacks, he doesn't have the option of sending him back to the extra deck to then special summon more shit. But Tamer Editor can actually do that for him, although I never do that. But just letting you know that he is a little bit different in that respect, but he is good as a 3,000 beater. He is very good in that respect. I do have this guy, whatever. This guy used to be pretty expensive because he was secret rare. I think he only got printed once. Maybe he got printed twice. I haven't been really keeping up. But he's typically hard to summon 3 Glad Beast monsters. You don't really want to waste it on a guy with only 2,800 attack. But when Tamer Editor came out, then I was like, okay, yeah, definitely put him in there as just in case. He cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card attacks or is attacked, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. At the end of the battle phase, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can shuffle it into the extra deck, special summon 2 Glad Beast monsters from your deck. So, there you go. You summoned him for free with Tamer Editor, and then he attacked. Can't be destroyed by battle. So you attack into the Blue Eyes White Dragon. You take 200 damage, and then you special summon 2 guys for free from your deck. Go into your 2 level 5s, so that way you can make another Tamer Editor to bring out like a Domitianus or something. So now you've got 2 Tamer Editors for next turn, and a Domitianus. So you're looking really good after just using this guy in a very simple way, because he can't be destroyed by battle. So I like him in that respect, but honestly, I almost never use him. But I still have him, just in case. And then 3 Tamer Editors. You could actually cut this down to 2, if you wanted, so that way you can make room for the Utopia Brigade. I would take out the Diamond Direwolf, this guy who I never summon. He's only good as if you need to inflict extra pain. And then 1 Tamer Editor, because I've never summoned all 3 of them before in a game. But he is the bread and butter of this. He is where all of your strategies revolve around. Bring out this guy, because once he's out, typically in defense position, unless you're going to go for the OTK. Bring out this guy, and then you can special summon 1 Gladiator Beast fusion monster from your extra deck, except for himself, ignoring its summoning conditions. So that's how you get out the Domitianus. and the Heraclinos, so that way you can start your negates. You can even bring out Giezurus, activate his effect to blow up shit. You can bring out, obviously, the Nedokius and the Gaio Diaz. These guys to do some extra pain. But, yeah, that I almost never summon them. It's mainly just the Heraclinos, Giezurus, and the Damatianus. So that's the reason why Tame Editor is so freaking good, and he's fairly easy to summon in this deck. So the Andabata, you never really want to summon him the normal way. You just want him in here so that way you can activate Fusion Deployment to get out Augustus. That's usually the only reason why I even have him. And then, again, this guy is just because when this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the defense of the destroyed monster. And then at the end of the battle phase, again, this guy can special summon 2 Glad Beast monsters from your deck, sort of like the Nedokias, this guy. So that's the only reason why I have him. 2 Gizeruses. I used to run 3 Heraclinos and 3 Gizerus back in the day, because that was really all you were limited to. You only needed 2 of them. But he's good that he's a level 6, because he's a target for a Tamer Editor, and or a fusion material for Tamer Editor, plus his ability to blow up shit. And then he can obviously special summon 2 Glad Beast monsters, except for Bestiari, after the battle phase that he attacked. So he's really good. Diamond Dire Wolf, I mean, they're almost all Beast Warrior, Winged Beast type monsters, so that's the reason why I have him in here, for being able to pop shit. And then you can always, like, bring him back with Darius or a quest. And then this guy, Drogasis, whatever his name is. I actually have used his ability effectively before, because if a Glad Beast monster you control attack, it's not just him, but if a Glad Beast monster you control attacks, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. That's really good if you have to force one of your Glad Beast monster effects. And then at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, you can return this card to the extra deck, especially on 2 Glad Beast monsters with different names. So it's just like the other guys. And then you bring out 2 level 5s, going to 10 minute, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal, right? So you can take 2 level 4s, make him attack, and then bring out 2 level 6s during main phase 2. It's very good. Test Panther. If this card is Link Summon, you can add 1 Gladiator Beast card from your deck to your hand. I'm typically going after Gladiator Beast comeback. And then you can target 1 Gladiator Beast monster you control, shuffle that Glad Beast monster into the deck, and if you do special on 1 Glad Beast monster, he's like a test tiger in that respect. So then if you have a Gladiator Rejection on the field, you would then get the effect of Gladiator Rejection, because you just sent back whatever Glad Beast monster you normal summoned. And then you would get out an additional monster, so now you have 2 monsters instead of just 1, and then you have Glad Beast comeback as well. That's pretty well it for the extra deck and everything, so I'll go ahead and get into the duel. Sorry that was a little long-winded. Now, you can actually see the reason why I went for the Heraclinos rather than the bigger pop of the Damatianus is because Glad Beast War Chariot can already do monster effects. Not to mention it's going to be searchable. But that way I can take care of spells, traps, as well as monster effects. That is the only reason why. And then obviously I've got Fusion Deployment, which is really good. This is a really good hand for next turn as well. And remember, he can keep, every turn, he can keep summoning an extra Glad Beast fusion monster from your extra deck. So last turn it was Heraclinos, this turn is Damatianus, next turn it'll be Giezurus or something, whatever you want it to be. That part is pretty good. There you go. That's pretty good. I mean, that was really nice to be able to have the War Chariots, but when you go against a monster effect heavy deck like that, Domitianus is the guy who you want to go against. You just have to be able to gauge your opponent, right? Oh, this was the dragon, so I was hoping that I could get a Wonders of Nature to showcase how good it is against a dragon's deck, but I don't think I did. Though Tame Rider is just so good. I can't believe Glad Beast never took off. Like, the several years ago, before like Albaz and all these other decks started to become really top tier, I just can't believe that no one wanted to be able to do that. Oh, Altergeist. I fucking hate Altergeist. Now, remember, he can't target my Glad Beast monster, so that card is extremely good. Oh, so one thing that I will say that okay, so one of the things that I was playing very conservatively, because I knew who I was playing against. I was playing against the Altergeist. But one thing that you could have done is gone for 2 Augustuses. So that way Augustus could have brought out Noxious from your hand, and then Gladiator Rejection would have been able to bring out like Vespasius or maybe another Noxious or something. So you could have gone into 2 Tame Editors and then gone into a Domitianus and a Heraclinos, but I was playing a little conservatively because if I brought out Heraclinos, the only card I could discard, I could only negate 1 spell or trap, and I would have to get rid of my only card in my hand. So that's the only reason why I went a little more conservatively, because otherwise I could have had 4 level 5 or higher's and gone for 2 Tamer Editors. And you can activate both Tamer Editor. Hold on. Yeah, it says once per turn, right? It's not these bullshit cards these days that say you can only activate this effect once each turn or whatever. This is a once per turn. So if there's 2 different Tamer Editors on the field, you can activate both of their effects, which is really good. See, normally this guy can attack directly, but the thing is, you choose the attack target. So that means that even if the opponent wants to attack directly, you can redirect the attack from yourself back to him. And that's the reason why he's so good. And if he tries to activate a monster effect in response, obviously I can just negate it. So that's the reason why this deck is like extremely good. You can actually go do very well if you go first because of the ability to like just do so many combos. So you can try it out, modify it however you want. I'll go back to the deck real quickly. But this is what I'm working with right now, and I don't really see any reason to change it because I've accepted the fact that it's not going to be the best, but for what it is, I enjoy it a lot. I'm able to do what I want with it almost all the time, and that's good enough. You know, 67% of the time, that's really all you need anyway. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to y'all later. See ya.